From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Evening Edition.
Now at 6, a look at the fallout in Minneapolis after ICE agents shot and killed protester Alex Preddy. Tonight, a closer look at how the Bay Area is showing its support. Plus, winter storms wreak havoc in several parts of the country, including several major airports, will have the impact at SFO. And later, a battle over beach access in Daly City after a chain fence showed up out of nowhere. Live from the CBS studios in San Francisco, I'm Andrea Nakano. Brian Hackney has the night off. We begin in Minnesota tonight, where there is a growing memorial to honor Alex Preddy, the protester who was shot and killed by ICE agents yesterday morning. He was an ICU nurse at a veterans hospital. Protesters were out in full force in Minneapolis. This was a look at the crowds from earlier today outside of City Hall there, and the investigation into what exactly went down is underway. The DHS says the agent acted in self-defense after attempting to disarm Preddy, who had a concealed weapon.
This individual was on that scene several minutes before that shooting, interfering with a lawful, legal, ethical law enforcement operation to arrest Jose Huerta Chuma. And again, it's back to choices. We just talked about choices. When someone makes the choice to come into an active law enforcement scene, interfere, obstruct, delay, or assault law enforcement officers, and they bring a weapon to do that, that is a choice that individual made.
Preddy was a licensed gun owner. Border Patrol says the agents involved in the shooting have not been placed on leave and are working outside of Minneapolis for their safety. Meantime, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz held his own press conference, accusing the federal government of lawlessness.
What side do you want to be on? The side of an all-powerful federal government that can kill, injure, menace, and kidnap its citizens off the streets? Or on the side of a nurse at the VA hospital who died bearing witness to such government? Or the side of a mother whose last words were, "I'm not mad at you"?
Yesterday, a judge issued a temporary restraining order against the Department of Homeland Security from altering or destroying evidence connected to his killing. Preddy's death comes just weeks after ICE agents shot and killed Renee Good, a Minneapolis resident and a mother of 3. And here in the Bay Area, protesters were out in Marin County calling to abolish ICE and voice their frustration over the killing. Dahlin has more.
Say his name, Alex Preddy. Say his name, Alex Preddy.
Marin County protesters angry over the killing of Alex Preddy.
Absolutely sickening and disgusting.
They say the government is supposed to protect its citizens, not kill them.
Still can't process it. I just cried. I was angry.
On Sunday morning, Allison Harley and her friend brought their kids out to protest near the corner of Civic Center Drive and North San Pedro Road in San Rafael. While it's a tough topic for kids, Allison believes it's an invaluable lesson, teaching them civic engagement outside the classroom.
We've got to get out there and do what's right and always stand up for what's right and not be silent and complicit.
At one point, hundreds of people stretched for blocks, holding up signs demanding justice and accountability.
I'm angry and I'm sad and I want this to stop.
Say his name, Alex Preddy.
The demonstrators are calling on ICE and Border Patrol agents to leave Minnesota and stop hurting innocent people.
You keep executing people on the streets of America and I'm going to keep protesting. It's got to stop. And the gaslighting. Oh my gosh, to be blaming Alex, whose last words were, "Are you okay?" I mean, I've seen the videos, I've seen the still images. He was executed by our government in my country.
Protesters also blame President Donald Trump, saying his administration enables violence toward good people.
They are more of a Gestapo than they are a police force. I think they are out of control. They have killed multiple people now.
No more murder.
Despite the challenges this country faces, Allison remains optimistic about the future.
I want our kids to grow up in a free, wonderful country, and we don't have to worry about all of this hatred and division.
The protest lasted about 2 hours and remained peaceful. Rally organizers say they plan to be out at the nearby Sunday farmers market every week.
In San Francisco, Mayor Daniel Lurie reiterates SFPD will not be assisting in ICE operations. He says residents can expect to see more officers on the ground as the city prepares for upcoming big events like the Super Bowl and Lunar New Year. And the Golden State Warriors faced off against Minnesota Timberwolves in Minneapolis earlier today. And before the game, the Timberwolves held a moment of silence for Alex Preddy. Stay with us as we continue to follow the latest in Minneapolis on air, online at kpix.com, and streaming on the free CBS News app.
Regime change in Iran by the people of Iran. Regime change in Iran by the people of Iran.
A small group of protesters gathered this morning in San Francisco's Union Square in support of the uprisings taking place in Iran. They are amplifying calls for the removal of Iran's authoritarian government, saying it is time for the people of Iran to choose their leader. Iranians have been protesting in the streets of Tehran and other cities since December 28th. And as the uprising grew, the regime responded, leading to thousands of deaths in Iran. Here in San Francisco, supporters believe and hope regime change is imminent.
There's absolutely a very, very good possibility that people of Iran will succeed very soon, provided that the West understands the path forward is with a democratic republic.
Today's protest was held by the nonprofit Iranian American Community of Northern California. They tell us they will hold protests like these weekly as long as the uprising in Iran continues. Nearly 150 flights canceled today at San Francisco International Airport, and that's largely due to the massive winter storm currently battering much of the United States. Multiple airports in New England are closed tonight, including New York's LaGuardia Airport and Boston Logan International. Over 11,000 flights have been canceled nationwide, and about 16,000 flights were delayed. The winter storm stretched from Texas to New England, blanketing much of the South and East Coast with snow and ice. Maintenance crews in the District of Columbia work to clear the ground, which they say seems to be an endless task.
Snow just keep coming down harder and harder. No matter how you push the snow, it just keep coming.
According to PowerOutage.com, nearly 1 million customers across the United States are dealing with power outages, with Tennessee, Mississippi, and Louisiana being the most heavily impacted. Darren?
Andrea, the biggest impact from this storm is the ice. And to just go into a little bit of background on how you get such a destructive ice storm, we actually have to start out here. Water temperatures in the Gulf in the 70s, relatively warm, actually quite warm, and humid air, which is being matched right now with this huge pool of Arctic air coming down from here. You've got sub-zero temperatures in the purples. You've got temperatures below freezing down here. This is the convergence of these two right over the east half of the country, which has led to a storm that looks like it's taken up the entire east half of the country, and it is that pink ribbon in the middle where the real trouble spot is. Rain to the south, snow to the north. In the middle, that warm air, which has come up from the Gulf, is close down to the ground. So when the rain falls through it, it stays rain. It's not snow. And then when it gets down into that lowest layer, it turns to ice. And that's when you start spreading ice across that huge swath of the nation. Take a look at the right now radar image. In fact, let's go back to the last 3 hours. The focus for the ice today is in the Carolinas. And you can see once again where that warm air is coming in down towards the mid-levels of the atmosphere, and then it's turning straight to ice as it hits the ground. This has been a big problem through the southeast. Close to 1 million people with no power because all that ice accumulating on power lines breaks the lines. It'll take days to fix it. North Carolina is next to have to deal with that. And just when everybody loses power, they're going to be dealing with freezing temperatures for about the next, well, probably 5 or 6 days. That could be the big story here. People stuck without power. And that's when the cold air is really going to settle in on them. It's really going to be a big story going forward, even for the next 4 to 5 days because of that. I will see you with our forecast, which is so much different, obviously. Small chance of rain for us. I'll tell you when, coming up in just a bit. Andrea, back to you.
All right, thank you, Darren. In Daly City, a battle is brewing over beach access after a mysterious 8-foot-high chain link fence went up, blocking the only path down to Thornton State Beach. Now, one San Mateo County supervisor is getting involved, demanding the California Coastal Commission take the fence down. John Ramos was there and has the latest.
The fence went up about 2 weeks ago, and it has people in the area wondering, who is this guy, and does he really have a right to do this?
And it's just beautiful, you know, scenic trails and beach. And so a lot of folks, dog walkers, hikers, bikers, everybody is accessing this area.
The Thornton Beach Bluff in Daly City is a place of windswept, unspoiled beauty, or at least it was.
So this is the fence that has been put up over the last couple of weeks by the individual living in that trailer.
Annie Ellicott has been an advocate for the bluff's preservation, and she is appalled at the chain link fencing that went up seemingly overnight about 2 weeks ago.
Because he has blocked off both the entrance to this particular part of the path, which is again not on his property, at both the southern end and at this end, nobody can actually come from the vista down the path to access this trail. And this is the only trail down to the beach.
The beach's parking lot is virtually cut off from access with a handwritten no trespassing sign. But that's mild compared to the sign that was first put up, warning that the property owner has a 9mm handgun and trespassers would be shot. The neighbors say the police made him take that one down, but the message is clear. Zachary Layden owns the riding stables on the other side of the fence. His trail rides used to access the trail down to the beach.
This was the last part that they put up, which blocked us out of the whole thing. So at first, they were being very cooperative, saying, oh, the horses can ride on it. And when they put the last piece on it, they're like, never mind, they can't. It's like, wow, all right.
What do they always say? Good fences make good neighbors.
Not this one.
Not this case.
This is not a good fence. He's got a plan. I'm not sure what the plan is. And he seems to be the kind that will bulldoze anybody who's not aligned with his plan.
But that includes County Supervisor David Canepa, who lives near the beach. He has written a letter of objection to the California Coastal Commission, demanding the access be restored.
We're going to fight really hard with this. We're working in concert with the city of Daly City. He has not sought permits from the city of Daly City for that fencing. And I firmly believe, in terms of access, he's in violation of the law.
That's yet to be determined, especially since technically Thornton Beach has been closed for years by the state, meaning there are no ranger patrols to the area. But people have still been arriving to take in the beauty, and that's something the commission has worked to protect in the past.
And there is still some question about whether the man in the trailer actually owns that property. And there are concerns that first responders have lost a road for their trucks to drive on to respond to emergencies. Well, tomorrow, thousands of Kaiser nurses and healthcare workers are expected to go on strike over stalled contract talks. That's despite Kaiser and the union agreeing to go back to the negotiation table. 31,000 workers in California and Hawaii are expected to walk off the job. They are demanding better pay, better staffing, and fair negotiations. Kaiser says it has already offered raises of more than 20% over 2 years. Kaiser also says hospitals, medical offices, and pharmacies would stay open during the strike. The stoppage is set to begin in just a few hours at 7 o'clock Monday morning. And stay tuned, we'll be hearing from a Kaiser nurse in our 11 o'clock hour. After the break, a progress report on the rebuilding of the Santa Cruz Wharf. Stay with us. It's been more than a year since the Santa Cruz Wharf collapsed. You might remember these images from December 2024 after a powerful storm damaged the end of the pier and sent 3 people into the ocean. Crews started rebuilding last November, and it's estimated to cost about $1 million to restore about 1,100 square feet of the wharf's end. But now a reopening is in sight. Our Scott Raitt spoke with businesses who are looking forward to the end of the construction.
People packing the Santa Cruz Wharf on Monday. The holiday in sunshine, a welcome sight for business, especially with this construction happening.
There were some initial anxieties. It impacted some parking.
Holly Siegel is a supervisor at Stagnero Brothers, this seafood spot at the end of the wharf right next to that construction.
Everybody can see it.
Holly says that the construction is having impacts on business.
There was obviously some initial noise and clamor that was occurring outside that caused people to be a little anxious. A friend of mine that I met through the restaurant come in recently who had to walk an extra 2 blocks, and that was a genuine barrier for him.
From our helicopter, you can see that chunk of the wharf still ripped apart, the wharf badly damaged by powerful waves in December of 2024. Stagnero's was shut down for 3 weeks after the collapse.
That impacted the employees a lot. The business itself definitely had a little bit of a hard time. The winter is already our slower season.
Right after that partial collapse, Santa Cruz Parks and Rec telling me that it worked with the city council to develop an ad hoc subcommittee.
That really helped us work closely with our engineers to identify these key strategies of what to rebuild.
The city telling me that it has been planning for the long term and that while the repairs are underway, the wharf is perfectly safe. The construction not stopping folks I spoke with from coming out on this holiday.
Not at all. It's as live as possible. All the stores are open. Everything's doing good.
Now all the businesses here looking forward to having the entire wharf reopened so that things can just get back to normal.
And this is such a historical structure that obviously the entire community is going to want to know what the new revamped wharf is going to look like.
And Cruz did have today off because of the holiday. They will be back out here tomorrow, Tuesday, first thing in the morning, back at work on the wharf. I am told that everything is on track, and with the good weather, they are expecting a mid-March reopening of the wharf.
Well, it certainly has been good weather the last several weeks. We have a small chance of rain coming this week. So I want to focus on that first, probably the most interesting aspect of what's coming our way. So we'll set it up on the virtual set. I'm going to skip ahead to Tuesday because nothing is happening from now till then. So you'll see the timestamp here. We're at Tuesday morning. Here comes our system. And I'm going to let this go until we get towards Tuesday, like late afternoon, early evening. Come on up to the North Bay. Let's see how this looks. There's good rain that's extending out into the Pacific. But as we get a closer look at the Bay, I'm going to let this play through the remainder of the day. And from this forecast model, the showers really do fizzle. We get something, but there's not a lot, and it weakens as it does so. That's one forecast model's depiction of this. I want to show you the other one because there has been a pretty good amount of differentiation with this system in terms of how different forecast models with different biases have been interpreting what the most likely outcome is. So we want to look at it this way, take a moment too, and kind of slow things down. Remember now, there's Monday, more blue sky. Here's Tuesday. All right, let's stop it right there. So we stopped there on the virtual set at 5 o'clock. Same time frame. This one has a little bit better extent on shore for rain, and we could see some showers moving in through the North Bay by the time we get to about the commute. Primarily, that'd be North Bay. If you're going to get any rain on the Tuesday evening commute, plan on it primarily as a North Bay issue. We advanced this forward, and now we've gotten to 7 o'clock. And that line of rain's holding together here as it's finally coming in across the Golden Gate, getting down through the city. There's not going to be a lot to this, but at least in this depiction, and this would maybe be one of the more reliable ones to go on at this point, because it looks like it's got a better handle on the way these systems typically hit the bay when they're put together like this. And that gives us some light showers. It'll be done by the time we get to like 10 o'clock. What's different also is it's moved up in timing. So we saw this thing coming much of last week and have been talking about it since then. But the focus was always Wednesday. And now it's sped up a little bit, which is typical, which is why we always say when we're looking out 7 days, we're not going to the bank on that forecast. It'll likely adjust a little bit. Now we're close enough here. We're getting within that 3 to 5 day window where the accuracy starts to go up. And that was our rain. Wednesday, late day through about the evening, and then it's done. Let's put some totals on it because this really puts some perspective for what we're in for. That's not a lot. Maybe 0.3 of an inch of rain in the North Bay. Maybe it holds together with that amount as it comes in through the city. I think if San Jose gets 0.1 of an inch of rain, that'd be fairly impressive in terms of how much you'd actually be getting out of that. So don't plan on a whole lot there. All right, let's just get you caught up on what tomorrow's going to be like. We'll take a look at the rest of the bay for morning lows. And when we take a look at the numbers on here, those are for the most part a little warmer than they've been. I'm not saying it'll be warm tomorrow. It'll just be a little bit warmer than they've been. A lot of mid-40s on here. But we do mid-30s tomorrow morning in Livermore. Concord will go to 38, and Petaluma will go down with your temperatures for the most part hanging out in that low range as well. Here's your 7-day forecast. The only highlight in it is that small chance of rain from Tuesday night. into Wednesday. I'll see you with more on this coming up in the next half hour.
From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Evening Edition.
Welcome back. It's been one day since ICE agents shot and killed the ICU nurse in the streets of Minneapolis, sparking protests and outrage across the country. Minnesota leaders and federal officials are still at odds over what exactly happened and who is responsible. CBS News reporter Lana Zak has more on the unrest rocking the Twin Cities.
One day after 37-year-old ICU nurse Alex Preddy was shot and killed by ICE agents on the streets of Minneapolis, Minnesota officials say they're at a breaking point.
People have had enough.
On Sunday's Face the Nation, Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara described the frustration of the people of Minnesota in the wake of the shootings of Preddy and Minneapolis resident Renee Good.
This is the third shooting now in less than 3 weeks. The Minneapolis Police Department went the entire year last year recovering about 900 guns from the street, arresting hundreds and hundreds of violent offenders, and we didn't shoot anyone. This is not sustainable.
But during a Sunday press conference, Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Greg Bavino defended the actions of ICE agents.
Our Title VIII immigration mission continues unabated here in Minneapolis, despite yesterday's tragedy that was preventable.
All of this comes as a growing number of people are speaking out against the tactics of federal immigration authorities. Governor Tim Walz held a press conference later on Sunday asking the public which side of the Preddy case they choose to be on.
The side of an all-powerful federal government that can kill, injure, menace, and kidnap its citizens off the streets, or on the side of a nurse at the VA hospital who died bearing witness to such government.
Preddy's parents spoke out about their son on social media, calling him a hero and maintaining he was not holding a gun at the time of the shooting.
This week, the Senate is expected to vote on a House-passed spending package as a partial government shutdown looms. But after yesterday's shooting in Minneapolis, it's unclear if there is enough support to approve the measure. Senate Democrats say they won't back it as long as it includes funding for the Department of Homeland Security. The roughly $1.2 trillion package combines DHS with 5 other appropriation bills. Originally, the House passed DHS funding separately, but it was folded into the border package before heading to the Senate. Now, temporary funding for these departments expires Friday, but some agencies already have full-year funding through last year's One Big Beautiful Bill. That means a shutdown, even one involving DHS, would have limited impact on immigration enforcement. Still, some lawmakers are pushing for a different solution.
I can't vote for a bill that includes ICE funding under these circumstances. Take up DHS by itself. Let's have an honest negotiation, put some guardrails on what's going on, some accountability, and that would solve this problem. We don't have to have a shutdown.
If the Senate changes the bill, it would require to go back to the House. 60 votes are needed to approve the package. Otherwise, a partial shutdown could start Friday. California's ultra-rich are threatening to leave the state over a proposed billionaire tax. Supporters say they're pushing for it to cover for the Trump administration's massive cuts to low-income health care. Tom Waits shows us how the issue is dividing Democratic leaders.
It boils down to this. Those in favor of this one-time tax on the ultra-rich say it will protect jobs and health care across the state. Those who are opposed to it say it will send wealthy people fleeing to other states to avoid paying the tax. At the World Economic Forum, Governor Newsom could not escape an issue that's dividing the Democratic Party, a proposed billionaire tax in California, which Newsom opposes.
A one-time wealth tax at a state level that almost exclusively goes to solve one problem, health care, and starves the rest of the general fund, that has had already the impact of people moving out of our state.
One of the state's largest healthcare unions, Service Employees International Union, or SEIU, is one of the biggest backers of the proposed billionaire tax.
I'm supporting it because after hearing that about 3 to 3.4 million Californians would lose their healthcare insurance, that was very alarming.
Mike Yvonne with SEIU is a certified nurse's assistant at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles.
With the cuts, it could lead up to 145,000 healthcare workers being laid off.
SEIU and progressive Democrats are pushing the billionaire tax as an answer to massive cuts made by the Trump administration to healthcare services for people with low incomes. It's estimated California has more billionaires, around a couple of hundred of them, than any other state. If the measure makes it on the ballot, it would impose a one-time 5% tax on billionaires, including their stocks and other assets. There's strong opposition among the elite in Silicon Valley.
People who will benefit are the taxpayers of Texas and Arizona and Florida, who will now have more billionaires relocating to their state and sharing in the burden of paying for their public services and their infrastructure.
A recent poll shows that just under half of voters support the tax.
On the one hand, you can see where it comes from. There are tremendous inequalities of wealth and income in California. The proponents would say, look, this is a one-time tax and it applies to people who are already there. The trouble with that argument is if you do it once, a lot of billionaires are going to figure they're going to do it again, and I better get out of here.
Backers of the billionaire tax still need to gather signatures and get their message to voters.
I think that I would vote for it, but my hesitation is just because money is designated towards health care, it's not necessarily going to go there, so that would be my big apprehension.
Supporters of the wealth tax must collect nearly 875,000 signatures from registered voters by June 24th to get the issue on the ballot. Well, coming up, from apathy to action, how younger voters are shifting the political landscape next. Well, new data shows U.S. citizens and especially younger voters are looking outside the two-party political system. A new Gallup poll shows 45% of U.S. adults now identify as independents. That's a new all-time high. Younger voters are driving that shift, with more than half of millennial and Gen Z voters considering themselves independent. Our Lauren Tom spoke with some political organizers in San Francisco to see how younger voices are already pushing for change across the political landscape.
A generational shift is underway both inside and outside the halls of government. Younger voters aren't just waiting their turn, they're stepping forward to lead.
We're hearing again and again from younger people that they just don't fit the realities of what our younger, generations are facing. I would call myself a zillennial, but I just turned 31.
I am very Gen Z. I just turned 21 a couple weeks ago.
Separated by a decade in age, millennial Ruth Ferguson and Gen Z organizer Adriana Zhang are united by the same question: who gets a real chance to shape the future of their city?
San Francisco should care about opening the door to new voices, new leaders, and change.
They both entered politics young, serving on youth commissions in their home counties, showing them how decisions are made and who is often missing from the table.
We feel like there's just such a unique appetite, particularly right now, given everything that's happening in the federal government, Zohran Mamdani's win in New York. There's just a new sense of energy. I think that didn't exist before, and I think is really rare.
That energy mirrors a new millennial majority on San Francisco's Board of Supervisors, where 6 of the 11 members are millennials, aged 29 to 44. New legislation coming from Supervisor Bilal Mahmood aims to encourage new leadership by closing a term limit loophole for elected city positions, capping it at 2 terms.
Why we're interested in closing it is to just encourage more of that, more collaboration, intergenerational relationships, even in politics, because that's how we will create a more just society for everyone.
The push comes as younger leaders are surging nationwide. According to Future Caucus, the U.S. saw a 170% increase in Gen Z lawmakers taking office this year. And here in San Francisco, Ruth says the makeup of City Hall doesn't often match the demographics of the city.
We've had 6.5% of all supervisors in 175 years of San Francisco government are women. Only 2 women mayors. The average age for the Board of Supervisors and for mayor is around 50 when they enter office. It makes me feel like we are on the precipice of something really important, and there's momentum that we're building, and we have to make sure that we maintain that momentum and we keep reaching new voters.
The pair says they're optimistic about the pendulum swinging younger, on the brink of a midterm election cycle that could bring new voices and new representation.
Of course, the simplest way to influence politics is at the ballot box, but a Tufts University study found only 42% of young voters ages 18 to 29 cast a vote in 2024. Well, coming up, take a look at this video of one coyote swimming to Alcatraz. Why one expert says she expects that coyote to thrive.
Okay, coming up in the forecast, we're going to track the Pacific going forward. We are still on track for the first rain in weeks. Going to get here on Tuesday night. I'll show you what the timing looks like, how much we might get, and then we'll look ahead for an entire 7-day forecast coming up after the break.
In what could be a Bay Area first, someone caught this video of a coyote swimming all the way to Alcatraz. It might seem counterintuitive for anyone to make that swim to the island, but one wildlife expert tells our Amanda Harry the coyote may have been escaping something else.
And we have people who
Video of a lone coyote swimming in the bay. Its head bobbling above the water as it makes its way to Alcatraz Island.
Astonished, of course.
A friend sent Janet Kessler the video. She's a self-taught naturalist who has been documenting coyote behavior in San Francisco for about 20 years. In that time, she's never seen a video like this one. He crawls out of the water and struggles to get his footing once on the rocks.
He can barely make it. He is depleted. He is shivering. He is cold.
Coyotes can be found on nearby Angel Island. This is a video from August of one swimming around the island. But this is the first time one has been documented on Alcatraz. The coyote likely swam over a mile to get there. Kessler believes the animal may have felt interspecies population pressure in the city, and it needed to find new territory.
This one probably was pushed around by other territorial owners and decided that he could make this trip. So he attempted it and he made it.
It's still unknown if he survived the first night on the island, but she thinks he had the resources to do so.
There are banana slugs, there are rats, there are mice, there are birds. There's plenty for him to eat. And although there's no running water, there has been a lot of rain, and so there are big puddles lying around. So in that sense, he would be able to make it.
A man who works on Alcatraz shared the video on Facebook. He says it was given to him by a tourist. Kessler believes they did the right thing by keeping their distance.
Leave the coyote alone, because this is it doing what it does best.
After 2 decades studying the species, Kessler has learned they can adapt to many environments. Some have lived in San Francisco for generations, and this one could potentially adapt to Alcatraz.
They are survivalists and ready to push their envelopes, and that's why they continue to expand.
All right, let's transition ourselves to looking ahead to what's coming this week. And the headline in terms of what is coming is a little bit of rain. It ordinarily wouldn't be a big deal, but we haven't had rain here for almost going on about 3 weeks. So this will be at least worth talking about. Since then, we're going to leave behind the big storm over here, which we looked at earlier. I want to focus entirely on us. It's a good-looking storm out there now. A lot of cold air with it, too. We're going to put some rain into it, and you'll watch the separate waves of rain from that. Let's see if it wants to do it for me. It wants to stay on the clouds. Let me show this to you another way. Because we can watch the forecast bring in just enough rain that we're keeping this chance going into Tuesday night. So as we look forward on that, we'll see what you've got on here now, of course, is just clouds. That's showing up there, showing you what Monday morning is going to look like. And there's really not a whole lot to that. What we really want to see is the futurecast take us forward a couple of days, because this rain's not getting here until we get into about Tuesday night. So we're just going to look that. There we go. That's what we wanted to see. So a close-up pause right there. Tuesday night, the showers arrive. They're hanging out in the North Bay. And this is good enough consistency that we're likely going to get some of this. It's just not going to be a lot. And the challenge is some of it could come in the overnight hours. So when we get this little bit of rain, it might happen when most of us miss it. And there we go into Tuesday evening, 7 o'clock. So we went from about 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock Tuesday night. light showers. Notice how there's less of it now, but everybody still has a chance to get a few light showers. And then there's the back edge, beautifully outlined as that front leaves. And by the time really even we get to Wednesday, it's not a factor anymore. Maybe 0.3 of an inch of rain for the North Bay and scattered across the central part of the region as well. That means in the city and down the peninsula, you might come away with about 1/4 of an inch of rain of it. So that would be, it'd be attention grabbing, be headline worthy anytime you get rain finally. The challenge is when we look beyond that, when we look farther out into the Pacific, we don't see any more. Going all the way into the first week of February, it looks like we might, that little spat with rain that we're going to get might be all that we have coming our way. For quite some time. So let's talk about temperatures. Don't anticipate as gray a start tomorrow as you had today. We had this weak little area of low pressure kick up all the clouds and make it breezy this morning. Thing came out of nowhere. We're not going to do that tomorrow. Tomorrow, you'll have more sunshine earlier. Your morning lows are in the low 40s. And just to leave you with the daytime highs for tomorrow, we will climb back into the low 60s. It will be a nicer day tomorrow than today was. And in the 7-day forecast, you get 6 more just like it, with the exception of that Tuesday night into Wednesday light rain. I think we will see a little more Thule fog second half of next week. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Andrea, back to you.
All right, thank you, Darren. In Pittsburgh, these young barbers showed off their skill and precision at the Classroom to Clippers barber battle this afternoon. And we heard from the participants and judges who were excited to take part in it.
I started competing when I was 2 years ago, and I got 9 battles, and I love competing.
Being able to be here is a blessing. I live in the moment, so it's amazing just to be here.
Barbers as young as 11 years old competed in the taper, fade, freestyle tag team, and freestyle braiding categories. The organizer says that competitions like these allow kids to learn a skill while having a positive impact on others.
When people look good, they feel good, they do good. So them fixing someone's hair to make someone feel good is very key. Barbershops historically are known as sacred spaces, and we want to continue to have those sacred spaces like barbershops and salons to do braiding.
Winners of today's competition walked away with awards and bragging rights. Well, coming up almost 2 decades and $100 million later, a look inside Oakland's new Henry J. Kaiser Center. That's coming up next. The long-awaited Kaiser Center for the Arts has finally reopened in Oakland. The historic building right next to Lake Merritt was once a popular concert hall that hosted musicians like Elvis Presley, Tina Turner, and the Grateful Dead. Dahlin reports.
Henry J. is back after a 20-year hiatus. So many Oaklanders and others who once attended events here are thrilled to see this historic gem roar back to life.
Such a beautiful building.
Vanessa Huang is the chair of Oakland's Cultural Affairs Commission. She knows the center well, having once helped coordinate many concerts at the venue. She says she was eager to see what it looks like now on opening day.
The feel of it feels very much the same, so I'm happy that they kept the character, the architectural details.
Originally named the Oakland Auditorium, the building was constructed in 1914 and opened a year later. The venue would go on to host Martin Luther King Jr., Elvis Presley, and many other big names.
I saw James Brown here for the first time.
Your graduation?
Yeah, my high school graduation, Castlemont, 1968.
It was, first of all, the largest building, the largest public assembly building west of the Mississippi.
Terry Trotter, the CEO of the Henry J. Kaiser Center for the Arts, says the building shut down in 2005. It took about $100 million to renovate and restore the venue, which includes an arena, the 1,400-seat Calvin Simmons Theater, and 3 ballrooms.
This is the HJK Arena, and this is our largest space. It will seat anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000 people, depending on how it's configured.
And Terry hopes people will use the theater for more intimate events.
The Calvin Simmons Theater has been completely restored and renovated. We can do everything in here from a lecture to a theatrical show like you're seeing on stage now, to a Broadway show.
Terry believes the center needs to be a regional draw and receive support from residents outside of Oakland for it to be successful.
I see a renaissance happening around us. I think this building will be part of that and will benefit from that, but I also think this building is really going to help drive that.
Vanessa agrees, saying artists and performers can help revitalize the city.
I hope that it becomes a vibrant center for the community, for artists from all over.
But some say the city still needs to create conditions that make people outside of Oakland feel safe attending events and spending their money here.
60 Minutes is next. Good night.